Good evening and welcome to another edition of All for United on what is a frustrating day, but I think possibly frustrating for the right reasons, as we should have maybe got a positive result out of it today. There's a good week of United football, I think, to look through. We've got the Fulham game we'll touch on a little bit, the Sociedad game, and obviously today. And I got two great guests to do it. Daz, how are we?
I'm good. I'm actually coming away from the weekend feeling a little bit positive going into the week.
Yeah.
Are you feeling all right, Daz?
Daz is positive. Let's see how long that lasts.
Just a little bit.
How are you, Adam? You all right, buddy?
Yeah, good, mate. Glad to be back. I know it's been a couple of weeks, just had loads on, but yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me back.
Lovely. Always good to have you on. We'll start where we always start then, boys. We'll start at the starting lineup. What was your take on the starting lineup, Adam? What was your expectations from it?
Oh, as soon as I saw that Casemiro Eriksen kind of in the starting lineup, my heart sank a little bit. Because every time I've seen them two in the midfield recently, we've just been overrun by teams, and usually comes out of a really negative result. But thankfully, for once, I was wrong, and it really worked. And I actually think both had a pretty solid game today. Look, we're decimated by injuries at the minute. The squad is obviously fatigued. I think what a lot of people are not giving us credit for this evening is how much football we've played the last 10 days, including the extra time in the FA Cup, and then going out to Spain on Thursday, coming back, travelling, and then being able to put in a solid performance today, a positive performance. And I think really Amarin, that was the only lineup he could put out today, frankly. I do think he needed to bring Højlund out of the firing line a little bit. So I thought that was the best he could kind of produce today, because some of the younger lads are not quite ready for that starting position yet. In terms of the pressure on the shoulders and everything else, but they're coming on the bench and they're looking really, really good for it. So yeah, when I saw the lineup, I was worried, but I thought, well, we just don't have a choice at the minute where we're at.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I thought very similar, really, with Casemiro in the middle. I thought, shit, it's gonna be a real long afternoon. What about you, Daz? What was your first impressions of the starting 11?
I wasn't happy, but then in the same breath, when you try and fix it, you realise that the problems and the injuries are there. So personally, I don't see any value in starting a player like Garnacho, especially against Arsenal. I'd rather bring him on with half an hour to go, and because he does make an impact. Maybe that would have made the difference today. Maybe that would have got us that a winner. Because I don't think he contributed massively. I think his decision making was quite poor. And you always see this when he starts for me. I'm just not a big fan of him starting for Man United. For some reason, he's just a better sub, and there's no shame in that. I mean, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was one of the best centre forward subs I can ever remember in world football ever. Delo, I wasn't happy with that. Then forgot the Dogu was suspended, because I would have gone with Dogu on the right, and I would like to have seen Amas on the left, just for something different. I just felt as if, and today did surprise me, because I felt as if the starting lineup didn't really change, we was going to see more of the same, and actually we didn't. And I think I didn't expect Eriksen to last as long as he did. I thought maybe get good 45 minutes out of him and he might drop off. So I didn't mind him being there. I'm really glad Lindelof started. A lot of people are like, I mean, even just really touching the Sociedad game, people say, but he's missed the penalty. Yeah, sorry, the cup game. He missed the penalty, and I'm like, he never misses penalties. Never. It is part of most Man United penalty shootouts. Can always rely on him to score. And it's a sort of, for me, calling the Iceman for a reason, is never going to be a William Saliba. But what he can do is he can come in on games like today and just put in a good average performance. And when you've got Harry Maguire not available, Lissandro Martinez, that's what you expect from your backup players. For me, he always does that. And I just felt against Arsenal, Lindelof was a safer bet than Aiden Heaven, that had never played.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think I said in my preview on TikTok that it was kind of like a toss of a coin, and I think it would have come down to the fact of if he thought Heaven was ready, and maybe to start, maybe he didn't feel like he was. But what we'll do, we'll kind of go through the performances, and we'll start with the back line. Adam, I thought it was fairly solid from the back line. To be fair, I know Yoro came off injured, then Heaven did come on. But I thought even when he came on, I thought he was very solid, very good on the ball. He showed moments of like real sort of physical power when he was kind of up against players. What did you make of the back three of De Ligt, Lindelof, Yoro, and Heaven?
Yeah, I mean, considering look that they were obviously chucked together because of the injuries, you know, our starting back three you would like to think would be Maguire, De Ligt, and Martinez. I think that once they're all fit, I think next season that is our back three with Yoro being the main support. But I thought they were solid. I like Yoro. He's really sort of grown since he's come back from the injury. He's put in some solid performances. I think De Ligt's been a monster for us. I know the media like to tear him apart, but I really like him. I think he's been a really shrewd signing for us. And Lindelof, considering he's coming off the back of not much football at all, and obviously having the injuries and everything else, he looked solid today in the sense he really controlled it. And I like Kevin. He looks like he's going to be a bit of a player, probably a couple more years. Similar to Yoro, he's probably going to be eased in once we do have a fully fit squad. You know, maybe come on for the last 20 minutes, play the cup games. And that's what we need to do with the young players at United, because we've seen a few of them falter because we've kind of chucked them in and expect them to be at the prime at the age of 18, 19. It just doesn't happen. That's once in a generation kind of player. So, yeah, I thought they were all really, really solid. I had no issue with anyone's performances today at the back.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of looking long term, Daz, do you see Aiden Heaven being maybe the Lindelof replacement, maybe not being a starter? As Adam says, maybe the back three will be De Ligt, Martinez and Yoro going forward. Do you see kind of Heaven kind of taking the Lindelof role of maybe being a bench player, maybe being a little bit of a rotation player for a year or two?
Yeah, I think he is basically the glorified replacement for what's going to be Johnny Evans and Lindelof, isn't it? They've sort of brought the replacement in a little bit earlier, sorry, and I very much expect Evans and Lindelof to be moved on in the summer. I think initially I'd have said yes, but I think Harry Maguire's given everybody a headache because he's the sort of player that you're now looking at him thinking it's not going to be Lisandro Martinez, Lena Yoro, and Matthijs de Ligt, which is what I thought that would be the vision for this back line. Harry Maguire's sort of done what I'm really proud of him. I'm a starter in this team, and for me, I look at that Man United back line and I can't not put Harry Maguire in it. Which means you would argue that Lena Yoro is the backup to the three, which means that Aiden Haven, you know, is the backup to the backup. Obviously, that doesn't mean that he's not going to play, because obviously we play three centre backs, and as you've seen this year, there's going to be knocks, niggles, suspensions, so he's always going to get a game. But yeah, I very much see that he's the Lindelof replacement, and today was good. I mean, it's Arsenal's although Arsenal are not title contenders right now, especially not this season, they're still a decent team. They're a top 4 team for a reason. And this game is not the easiest game for a lad like this to come into, especially when it's his own old team as well. You know? And other than potentially the handball decision, which I think he got lucky with, I mean, I think it was one of them on any given day. A ref could have given that as a penalty. Another day, they'd wave it off. Other than that, we were flawless.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like you say, I think the penalty decision, I think some days you could maybe see that given. But I think going back to the centre
we
back,
saw it against Sociedad, didn't we, with Fernandes?
Yeah,
That's it,
I think in a different competition, that's handball, isn't it? However light it looks. I think going back to the centre backs, if we can have 6 very sort of capable centre backs, I think when we have injuries, when we have knocks, we can all kind of rest a little bit easier. But well, Yoro's going to come in, Heaven's going to come in, Maguire's going to come in. It's nice to have. I always used to think that with the Fergie years, we'd have 2 strikers, then we'd have 2 very good ones on the bench, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? So you need a big squad, don't you? But we'll go to the wing backs, Adam. Dalot and Mazraoui. I think Dalot has maybe underperformed a little bit in recent weeks. And I think when we see Dorgu, I think we kind of see what Amarin wants from a wing back. He's like powerful, he's athletic, he's getting up and down. He's really offering a threat attacking wise. Do you think Dalot's got a bit of work to do from that sense? And how do you think they both did today?
I've said it recently in some videos. I think he's in danger in the summer. Dalot, he's really not putting in good performances in the minute. Classic we saw against Sociedad with that, what should have been the simplest assist of the season.
Yeah, that's awful.
We saw it quite a lot today. You know, he had the ball at his feet so many times, dribbled it out of play somehow in the first half.
Yeah.
Don't know how he managed that. Bad touches, bad decisions, bad sort of crosses, bad passes. I don't know what's going on with him because he was in contention to be one of our player of the season, probably last season, the season before last. I think he is in real danger for this summer because I think, as you say, in Dorgu, that is the profile that he's looking for. And actually, I think Mazraoui can do it on the other side. We saw that today. I thought he was very positive. Really sort of got down that right-hand channel, put in some good crosses. Link-up play was really nice, and he's solid defensively. So I do think once everyone's fit, I think Dalot's in danger of dropping down the pecking order a little bit myself.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, let's touch on that Sociedad moment for a little bit, Daz. How isn't Dalot sliding that into Højlund? Like what from like it's so schoolboy, isn't it? That I mean, we all knock Højlund. You know, his stats are crap. He doesn't score goals. He doesn't have this, doesn't have that. But Christ, in that moment, the service has to be better, doesn't it? Dalot has to give him that ball for a shot on goal, doesn't he?
Yeah, this seems to be the story for most of our players at the minute. Just poor decision making, and as much as I probably have blamed the manager for a lot of these in the last couple of months, I've sort of had like bipolar when it's come to the manager, if I'm honest. Really good highs, really bad lows. But you can't put that on the manager, you know, really poor decision making. You know, and these are professional footballers. You know, we talk about Højlund. Højlund is still professional enough to make better decisions. You know, Dalot, again today, good enough to make better decisions. But yeah, it's just poor decision making, and some of it is like a bit like today with Højlund, a lack of awareness around him. You know, have you got time? Haven't you got time? What, you know, it's.
I agree. Well, we'll go to Højlund now because he had a little sort of cameo, didn't he, Adam? Is it a lack of confidence with Højlund? Is it? Yeah. Is it? Do you think that is it? It's just a lack of confidence.
It's a lack of confidence, and I think a lot of it is inexperience. Again, my earlier point, what we go back to, we're chucking these lads in, expecting them to be prime Van Persie. You know, expecting them.
I think we do forget, don't we, that he is still quite young in relation to sort of the top strikers, and we are expecting him to be United's number 9. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of pressure.
And you look at the number 9s of the past. You know, he's not an Ibrahimovic, he's not a Rooney. You know, you can go through the list and keep going down and down and down. But the thing is, when they were all at their best, they were 27, 28, 29, 30. Yeah. He's still only, 21 is he? 22?
I think so, yeah.
So I think it's a lack of confidence, a lack of experience. You see that a lot in a game. We go back to what Daz was saying, decision making. Mm-hmm. That will come with time. There is a player there. Is he going to be good enough to be United's spearman over the next 5-10 years? Time will tell. He might. Mm-hmm. What I think he needs an experienced striker to learn off, to be coming off the bench every 20 at the end of the game, 20 minutes to go, and be learning off that experienced striker, because at the minute he's not got that and he's expected to be. And that was really evident today in that chance where we won the ball back and he was through on goal and he tried to take a touch rather than just putting his laces through it. Any other experienced striker in the Premier League would have seen that ball at the feet and just put the laces through it, not thought about trying to take a touch, look for the pass, everything else. And I think that's where he's struggling at the minute. It's that confidence to take that shot on rather than looking for one of his teammates. But he's got to be given time. I know he's been here 2 years, but as we keep saying, he's only a young lad. We can't expect him at this stage in his career to be getting us 30 goals a season. And I think that's what a lot of United fans kind of expect of a United number 9, and that's the problem there.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's the big thing, Andy. People talk about how he's been here 2 years and he's not done it. Well, he did it last year. He's the youngest scoring under 21 striker in Europe's top 5 years. No under 21-year-old outscored him last year. You know, not strikers anyway. So we did do it last year. And I think I recently saw Andy Cole on Rio Ferdinand's show. And Andy Cole was saying you can see he's just trying too much. He just needs to go back to basics. And Andy Cole was saying back like in 99, the likes of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have the likes of Dwight York, Andy Cole and Teddy Sheringham to sort of learn off. He's got nobody to learn off. No real centre forward at that club. No Ronaldo coming to the end of his career. No Wayne Rooney coming to the end of his career. No Zlatan that's come for a payday. He's got no one, and I think that's massive. You know, he's in the Man United don't even have a Robin van Persie on the coaching staff or a Van Nistelrooy anymore. Someone that can really help him. So he's sort of seeing the pressure of being a Man United player, the pressures of not scoring, the lack of confidence, and you can see he's trying. I think that's the one thing that you can't give him. It's not like people are, we're talking about he's sort of like Rashford just walking around waiting for something to happen. He is really trying to score, bless him. And it's getting to the point where I would personally send him out on loan next year, no matter what striker position we're in, and I would send him somewhere in the Championship just to get him scoring goals, just to get some confidence, and let's see what he does when he brings that back to United.
Yeah, I agree with what you both said. I think the fact that we're not scoring goals, and there's no one else scoring goals, is there either? There's no one to take the workload off him. No one's banging him in and he's finding the odd one here or there. I think while we're not scoring goals, it's just massively highlighted, isn't he? But like you said, Daz, last season when he had that confidence, he was attacking shots, wasn't he? With that confidence, and he was burying shots. I think I said to you before, Daz. I think goals breeds confidence. It breeds just a different,
especially for strikers.
Yeah, they like live off it, don't they? And when they don't have it, they're very different. But we'll go to the 10s today, Adam. Eriksen and Garnacho. What did you make of them?
Yeah, I think Garnacho is another one. He falls exactly into the same category we've just been talking about for the last 10 minutes. He's still a very young lad. He can do it, but he needs that experience. I think he needs another 4 or 5 years of a game you wish you had a Nani or a Ronaldo or one of the classic wingers we've had to learn off. But he doesn't. He's in there, and so he has to just make the most of it. And he can be frustrating at times, but he can also be magical at times. And that's the thing with the Garnacho. But I remember, and I'm not saying he will be at that level. I don't think he will. Feeling exactly the same way about Ronaldo when he first came through. Sometimes he was brilliant. Sometimes he was so frustrating, and you were thinking, get him out on loan, get him out of the club, whatever. He needs to just continue to play. But today he was okay. I do agree with Daz's point. I think he's an impact player. I think he's a player that when a defence is knackered from like 70 minutes onwards, he scares the hell out of them by diving for that byline. And sometimes when he does play a full match, he can be a little bit frustrated. But he had his positive moments today. He was driving us forward. He was linking up well with the fullbacks. And I thought Eriksen had a solid game. I was really worried, like I said at the beginning, when I saw him in the starting lineup. But, him and Casemiro both rolled back the years a little bit today. I think the system that Amaran played helped that we weren't playing kind of open, expansive football. We were sitting back a little bit, hitting them on the transition. That suited both of them a lot more. Do we want to be playing that football moving forward? No, of course we don't. But for today, against the opposition we were against, in the position we're in and what's come the previous couple of weeks, it was definitely the right thing to do and it paid off. So, yeah, I was pretty happy with both of them. I've got no complaints at all.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I agree with you. I definitely agree with the sentiment of Garnacho coming on. I just think that's just because there's no one else, isn't there? Really, I mean, if we'd have kept Garnacho out, where would the pace have been in the team to start with? I mean, if we'd have had an Ahmad today or someone like that, you have that other threat coming off the bench, don't you? Casemiro, Daz. I know you are a fan of Casemiro, and you maybe think he should get some more minutes. Today, his stats: 9 tackles, 12 duels won, 83% pass accuracy. So it's definitely one of Casemiro's better games. How do you think he did in the middle of the park?
I think Casemiro today was the player that I've been telling you Man United have needed. I don't think Manchester United need to be looking at Casemiro saying he's our starting midfielder. But I think Ugarte starts over him. I think in a game like today, I'd have Mainu waiting in there over him. There's a couple of plays, but there's been times this year where we've been so open in midfield, and sometimes your experience as a footballer, we see that with Ericsson, sometimes your experience and your knowledge and, everything that you've gained in such an illustrious career, you can do without having the quality anymore. And today he did it without having the quality. Yeah. He wasn't a Declan Rice, he wasn't a Rodri, but Man United have not got that. Ugarte is our big midfielder, I thought, at the minute. But he wasn't available. We just need somebody to come in and steady the ship and just not fuck up. And he did that. And that is the Casemiro that I've been telling people for weeks. Just play Casemiro. Just play Casemiro. Because if you can get that experience out of him, it is a damn sight better than a Collier, a Maino. He will fill that void. And today he did it. Unfortunately, we can't just say that this is a great Casemiro because the last 3-4 games he's been given that opportunity, he's not taken them. I'm hoping, and I'm really hoping that he could take that into the Sociedad game midweek and just be that steady Eddie in midfield that we need. And it's a bit like Ericsson. I think we've got no Mason Mount. We're missing so many players. Ericsson just fills a void, and he wasn't great. He wasn't. I don't think he looked better than Xerxes today, but he's just a steady player that can do a job at an average level, which is what you expect from your backup players.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Box puts in the comments here, Adam, Casemiro's best performance since 2023. He says he loves the crunching tackles. I mean, Arsenal's midfield are no slouches, are they? And I think he handled himself quite well today. Do you think this is the Casemiro swan song? Are we kind of seeing the last few months of Casemiro as a United player here? Or do you think there is life after this season for him?
There's life after the season, but the only reason there is because he's not going to leave because of the money that we're paying him. I don't think that's going to be a club decision. That's going to be a Casemiro decision. So you need to make use of him. And next season, it may very well be he's coming on for those 15, 20 minutes in a game to steady the ship if we're got a slender lead or, if we're dominating a team and you can just bring him on to freshen up your midfield, whatever it might be. But I think he's here till his contract runs out because, and I can't blame him. Why would you leave if you've been given that much money at that age? You still got a few years in your legs, you feel. No one else is going to pay you that. So unless he goes to Saudi, which I don't think he will. So, no, I think he's here as a squad player. But for that price that we're paying him, that's, again, a bit of business. Something that we're used to from the club, really.
Yeah. I think Box says it perfectly here. As a squad player, 150k, you'd take it all day long because that experience to have when we've got injuries and stuff, I think it's invaluable, isn't it? Really,
and I'm sure he's really, really good on the training ground for the younger lads coming through.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's good in the dressing room as a leader with that experience. But all those things
he
together,
doesn't come across as a negative player either, though, does he?
No, he doesn't.
He always comes across as talks well, doesn't he? He comes across as a good leader.
It just seems like he's lost the quality about him, but he does look like he's if he could hold that value.
He's getting old.
You know what I mean?
That's it.
I think, I like Casemiro, and I think Manchester United fans and football fans need to remember that when you've got a player like Casemiro that has done what he's done in his career, and he's done it at such a high level, whether that was be at Manchester United or otherwise, this is Casemiro, probably the most decorated footballer on the planet behind Luka Modric and Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. It's definitely in the top 5 in terms of what he's achieved in his career. He has the right to say, I'm seeing out my contract at 350k a week. Man United was stupid enough to give him that contract at such a... he has every right as a footballer, being one of the world's most decorated footballers, to say, I'm seeing out my contract. And
I do not blame
we
him
might
at
not
all.
like that, and we are the collateral damage in that, but you know, the Glazers or Richard Arnold, whoever made that decision to pay a player 30 and over such a high amount of money, regardless to how decorated he was, regardless of how good he was in his first season, that's not Casemiro's fault, you know, and he has every right as one of the world's most decorated players to say, I'm seeing out my contract and you're going to pay me, you know.
And I think all three of us
I
on
get
this
why he's doing it. I'm just hoping that Saudi like him.
We'd all do the same position, wouldn't we? All three of us, you know. If we
I mean, like you say, Adam, I think it is just we're just paying the price for bad business, really. Yeah. And was that the only reason he joined us? Because we gave him a big bag of money? You know, who knows? But today he was quality, weren't he? And then we moved to a player that I know you love, Dan, Daz, Josh Xerxes. How do you think he played today, Daz?
The last few games, he's not been productive. I don't think he's been productive enough in terms of creating chances, and I don't. And that's my. It don't matter how good you are, how hard your work rate is. For me, that's a bare minimum. Being a Manchester United player, working hard, playing for the badge. If you're going to take a starting spot at Manchester United, it needs to be productive, and I don't think he has. And up until 3 games ago, I really disliked him to the point where I would have happily cancelled his contract and just got him out of the team. But over the last 3 games, I've sort of taken a different look at him. And I'll sit here and I still don't think he's good enough to be starting for Manchester United. I still don't think he's productive enough. But I do not want any player to prove me wrong more than Xerxes. I want Xerxes to us to be sat here at the end of next season and you two saying, we told you we'd come good. I want to be proven wrong because he does play for the shirt and he does work hard. And that little flick today that, you know, was absolutely outstanding, you know, and that led to the free kick and, you know, these bits in him that he's got. I mean, I'd be curious to see what he's like as a central midfielder.
Yeah, I think he's better deeper.
I don't know. I just because his link-up play is absolutely fantastic. I can't knock him for that. He can tackle. He can whip balls back. He has got a sense of physicality about himself. There was a bit today where he held the ball back, didn't he? And you know, he held play up. And I think that maybe just dropping him a bit deeper, he doesn't need to be productive then. Maybe switching him with Bruno. You know, like we put Bruno in midfield and lost his productivity in the final third. Maybe switch him up a little bit. I don't know. We've got nothing to lose for the rest of the year. Unless we win Europa, we're not going to make Champions League football in terms of league position. Why not? Why not try him? You know.
I mean, there was a point in that game. I think it might have been Saliba. He kind of holds him off, and then he lays it down to I think possibly Dalot, and then Dalot fires it across to Mazraoui, and Raya pulls off a very good save. I think that's where Xerxes is at his best when he's using his power. He's very good with his feet. What do you think of him, Adam? I know we haven't had you on for a few weeks, so what's your sort of take on Xerxes?
I think he's getting better again. He's another young player who I don't think we're going to see the best version of for another 3 or 4 years. So he needs to be given that time, that opportunity. I agree with Daz. I think eventually he will end up in a number 8 kind of role. I think he'll just be a little bit deeper and just linking up play because he's it almost reminds me of Pogba a little bit in the terms of the physicality, being able to hold players off, push players off, and be able to put in a decent pass and set the wingers off. So I like him. And I think the last 3 or 4 games, he has really improved for me.
Yeah.
I know he's not had the assists and the goals, which is what we need right now. But I think his overall link-up play, his physical ability, and his mentality, you know, going back to the game where he was substituted at half-time and it was just awful watching him. You know, it was really one of the first. Well, I've been embarrassed a lot as a United fan the last few years, but I genuinely felt embarrassed for the way we were treating one of our own. From that point on, he has really dragged himself up and really kind of stood up, and the fans are appreciating it. They're constantly singing for him because they see effort and they see hard work, and they will reward you for that. So again, he's another player in the same vein as Ahmad, Garnacho, or Højlund. You know, you think about the youth in our starting 11 at the minute that really should all be number twos to an experienced player in that position. 3 or 4 years down the line, as long as they keep working hard, I think we're going to see the best versions of them. And I think they'll be absolutely solid for us, be it as a squad player or a starter. Who knows, time will tell. But yeah, I really like him.
Yeah, I like Xerxes. I got a lot of time for Xerxes. I think at the moment, while we're playing poorly,
it's his character why I want him to prove me wrong. Because after being booed off, being such a young player, I mean, you could argue that could write a player's season off, and it didn't. He came back, and he came back quite positive, and he earned his way back into the starting lineup. Yeah, I argue it was the best of the bad bunch, but he did fight his way back in there. And towards this part of the season, these footballers are not stupid. They're all on TikTok. He knows that rival fans are bantering us for being in a relegation battle. We're not, and we're not going to get relegated, but
didn't you say a few weeks ago we were going to?
People are laughing at.
I seem to remember last time being on here, you were telling me we might end up getting relegated. So you admitting we're not doing now.
You know what? I think the bottom three sealed the fate for us. We're staying in the Premier League for another year, thanks to the bottom three. But now we are getting results where other teams aren't. Everybody's dropping points somewhere at the minute. But yeah, I think his character, even in these games where we've got nothing left to play for, and everybody can see that. But he's trying to play for something, and I can see that work rate in him. I can see that character, and that is what I want in a Manchester United. That work rate, that character. I just want him to be a better fucking goal scorer. I want him to create more. Maybe that's me wishful thinking because we've had Bruno that has nobody's out created him. People seem to think Kevin De Bruyne has, he hasn't. People think Odegaard has, he hasn't. I think as a number 10, I think Bruno is the most productive number 10 in the Premier League. Goes anywhere else and he wins a Ballon d'Or for me. But maybe I'm expecting another Bruno, and that obviously just isn't available. Maybe my expectations are too high, but I really hope he proves me wrong, and I want him to continue improving, because that's the one thing Adam said that I've got to agree with. And maybe he's changed my mind a little bit, because he is improving and he's consistent, and that's a big thing.
Do you think, Adam, like we said about Højlund, confidence is a big thing. He must be able to feel and hear just that the fans are getting a little bit frustrated with him, and it's, when he goes off, he's never really it's never standing ovation sort of stuff. And then you kind of flip it to Xerxes, who I think we can all agree on, really puts a shift in. He puts himself about, and he can hear the fans cheering his name. After the Fulham game the other day, when he was on his knees, upset, the fans cheered him off. They never stopped cheering for him. The fact that he can feel that love maybe from the fan base, do you think that's maybe giving him a little bit of a kick that Højlund maybe needs?
I just think it's giving him that extra 10%. You can feel that when you feel that love from. I mean, we all don't know, we're not professional footballers, but I imagine as you feel that coming from the stands, it must be like a shot of adrenaline for you. To really, you just want to make them proud and I think as a bare minimum as United fans, as long as a player is giving 100%, we can forgive a lot for a player. It's why I think a lot of us had enough of Rashford after the last couple of seasons, because it was never 100% on the pitch. It was always 70 here, 90 there, 65 there. And you could see that on the pitch, and that's why people started getting fed up with him. But someone like Xerxes, for all these faults that he may have, you cannot say that lad doesn't come off that pitch every time he plays with that shirt on, not having given 100%. And I do think that the crowd are recognising that, and that's why they're starting to get almost a bit of a cult love for him this season. It's almost like it's a romantic story, isn't it? He gets, booed off, and then he's starting to come back. And like Daz says, I think we all hope that he proves Daz wrong by the end of next season, and he bangs in 25 goals for us, and he becomes the player that we thought we'd bought. I hope that. I just really like him. I think he's
a real hard worker, and that's what we need in this team right now. Is people working hard more than anything really.
Yeah, I actually think he's becoming quite an important member of Amarin's team. You can see that the fact that he plays him in the 10.
Yeah,
I think you can see that he's got a lot of trust in him.
So if you're honest with him as well, Beanie, you've got to ask yourself, where should he actually be in this team? He should be behind Rashford. He should be behind Mason Mount. He should be behind Bruno. He should be behind Ahmed. He's found himself in a starting lineup because Rashford, for whatever reason, got moved on. Anthony's got moved on. Ahmed's injured. Mason Mount's injured. He's found himself a starter in a team that actually, at the beginning of the season, nobody would have thought he was a starter in this team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it boils down to that thing of we forget how young these lads are sometimes, and the fact that Garnacho, Xerxes, Hoyland, I don't know, Yoro, they're all young lads, and we maybe do expect a little bit too much too soon from them. But I like him. I got a lot of time for Xerxes. I think he's a proper good. Like he just looks like a good lad as well. Like he puts it all out there. And then we go to the main man, Daz, a player that for some reason splits opinion in the fan base. I don't get it. I've never got it. How good was that free kick? I mean, people will say Raya maybe was a little bit too far to the left or the right or whatever it would have been for him. The wall was another yard, but Christ, he hit that so well. The dip, the pace, the power. And Odegaard had a free kick very similar in the second half. He couldn't even get it over the wall. Do you know what I mean? There's levels to this. How good do you think Bruno was today, and how sort of underappreciated do you think Bruno is?
I think Bruno was fantastic today. They get to that stage where we both said it. Bruno just doing Bruno things. It's just Bruno in there, and you can. I mean, Arsenal moan about the distance of the wall. Anthony Taylor gave Man United an extra yard. People need to forget, just to go on to the wall situation. When a referee is pacing out paces, it's an estimation, and that's the same in every free kick, every game around the world. The referee has to estimate how far the distance is. It's never accurate, and the only way to make it accurate is to do what NFL do and come out and bring a tape measure out, which nobody will like that because of all of the interruptions in the game. But I mean, you blame Arsenal for that. They brought the player down outside the box, knowing that we've got Bruno Fernandes that can score from outside the box via a free kick, because he does and he can. So I think it's their fault that he scored that goal, because they brought the player down, and everything. But I think the free kick was, I don't actually think getting over the wall was really good. Right power, right judgment. I don't think the free kick placement was actually that good. It wasn't like it was top corner or, bottom corner. I think on a different day, maybe Raya could have got an answer to that, It wasn't a perfect free kick. It just happened to go in and Raya happened to miss it. But yeah, I think I always say if a free kick taker can hit the target and beat the wall, it's a good free kick. Great free kick if it goes in. I'm always like, because I mean, even when you've got a David Beckham taking free kicks, he didn't score every free kick, but he hit the target almost every time, which is the start to actually putting it in the back of the net. And I think it was a great free kick. I think Bruno is so underappreciated. I think you've got to ask yourself, how productive is he? If he was in that Real Madrid team, would he win a Ballon d'Or, or would he at least be in the shout for it? 100%. Would, if he was in this Man City team, would have won the treble 4 in a row, Centurions, all of this, would he be a Ballon d'Or player? Well, he's outscored, out-assisted, and created more chances than Kevin De Bruyne. So, I think in a different team, he's one of the best players in the world. It's Man United. We're not winning games. We're not winning trophies. Not anything significant. Bruno's not that good. That's in the eyes of other people. So, yeah, he's undervalued massively. I think in terms of what is created as a player at Manchester United, I think he should go down as one of Manchester United's greatest ever playmakers for me. But he won't, because it's been Man United's worst ever 10 years.
Yeah, I saw that on, I think it was Stretford Paddock. They said, will Bruno go down as a legend when he retires? Which I think's an interesting question. Where would you stand on that, Adam?
The way it's going, yeah, because he's come into this club and been the only bright spark, really, in what's been a dark, dismal 10 years. I know we've won a few trophies, but there's been a lot of shit that's come with that. And he's been one of the few signings where they've got it absolutely spot on. Like Daz says, if you put him in Real Madrid or Barcelona or City's team or even Liverpool's team, I think he's Ballon d'Or, winner. I think he's absolutely marked on for it because he's just so good. And I think he does split opinion because of his character and his demeanour on the pitch. But a lot of that's just his passion for the game and his passion for the club and wanting to win and wanting to drag his teammates with him. And I'd cut a frustrated figure at times, given some of the performances that, we have put in. But I do think he will go down, certainly, as one, like Dad says, one of our best playmakers, if not a legend. And we've got to remember, what is he? He's only 28, something like that. He's older than that. He's still, touch wood, got another 5-6 years at least with us. Things can change very rapidly, and I'd love to see him cap off his career by us lifting the Premier League title, or rather him lifting the Premier League trophy with us. We're a long way off that, but we're 5-6 years potentially. Let's see. I thought today, I can't ever remember, and maybe you guys will be able to correct me, watching an analysis on Sky Sports where they actually get someone to work out the distance between the wall and the kick taker. Have you ever seen
11.2, wasn't it?
Life?
Was it 11.2?
Yeah, just to try and find a way to dismiss what was just a very good free kick. They were desperate to find something to sort of diminish what he'd done. And that's just the levels we're talking about with our club, because they will always try and find ways to put us down, even if they couldn't admit we'd actually been playing well,
It's crazy. I mean,
I think that's just the downside to being Manchester United, isn't it?
Yeah.
People will notice that the distance isn't right and that we got an extra 30 seconds in extra time, or we handballed it a few more times. It's just Man United. You don't hear about this anywhere else, everywhere. I mean, to give you a perfect example really quick, we was hearing Mason Greenwood stories every single week during that whole 18 months fiasco. There's another London club that actually had a player charged with rape, but where's all the media stories on it? Absolutely nowhere. But that's an actual charge of a crime that actually happened. Benjamin Mendy, when it was in the news, it was in the news, but over the time where he was suspended, nothing.
Yeah, it's
Man United
for
people,
United.
City don't sell papers, do they?
United are United, aren't they? They're the big boys. Where do you stand on people's opinion of selling Bruno, Adam? I know that's how you stand roughly. Where do you stand, Adam?
They need to get their heads seen too if they think, selling that would somehow improve our team. I tell you what, if we didn't have Bruno Fernandes, I would be terrified to think where we would actually be as a club right now.
We'd be going down, I think.
I think would be in a relegation strap.
Yeah.
He has been our best player by a country mile for the last 5-6 years, probably.
Easy,
so anyone saying we should be selling him just needs to give their head a wobble. That's all I've got to say on that.
Daz, do you want to give your head a wobble?
Look, when I did mention, I felt that Manchester United, if the right offer came in the summer, we're talking 75 million, that sort of figure. If that offer came in, I think Manchester United should seriously consider it for two reasons. One is coming to. It's always hard to say a player's coming to the end of his career, because 30 years old, 5-6 years ago, used to be the age when they started to slow down. But we're now starting to see that it's more closer to 35 than it is to 30. And I think I'm just worried that, let's just say an offer came in the summer and Manchester United said not for sale, and we continue to have a rebuild year next year where we find ourselves just out of it, maybe mid-table sort of battle again. And then the following year, when we start to look better, we're not looking good because Bruno is slowly dropping year by year. That's my only worry. So whereas Man United have notoriously been poor moving players on, what can you replace Bruno for £75 million? That's the question. I mean, people say no, but Cunha, you can get for the same money, is his output this year has been identical to, what Bruno has done this year. The guy from Brentford, I can never pronounce his name, Bruemo.
And
Yeah,
Bueno.
I mean, that's the one. His numbers are not far off, So is Bruno starting to get overtaken by other midfielders now? And maybe that's just because Bruno's 30 years old and these players are still young. Is this the right time to sort of make that switch, bring in the new Bruno or what, And if we did it, it would need to be a Premier League player. It couldn't. I don't want to go and find a Bruno from Sporting or Portugal. I don't want that. It needs to be a Premier League player for me. Someone that is already, giving a really good output in the Premier League. And I think both Cunha and the guy from Brentford are both gettable players. And yeah, I think we're in a position where we are now. Bruno playing more in midfield in the 8 role than the 10. Can we find better number 8s than Bruno? Probably. Can we find a better number 10? Probably not. It's going to come down to circumstances. How good is the summer going to be? Again, that's going to come down to, do we actually win the Europa League and get Champions League football? Because I think that will alter the amount that we've got to spend, the players that we can and can't attract. But yeah, if the right offer came in, I wouldn't be against selling him.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's your opinion. For me, the only way Bruno leaves is if Bruno says he wants to leave. I think he's earned that. And I'd be staggered. It'd be staggered if United are looking to offload him, because I mean, since I saw a stat the other day, since he joined United, no one in the league has got better goal involvements than Bruno. You don't replace that, I don't think. I'm very much up for getting Cunha or Mbeumo, but while still having Bruno in the team, because as Doc says, I think Cunha and Mbeumo are slightly more sort of final third players, really, whereas Bruno's a little bit more of a creator, isn't he? But it's all opinions.
I think while he's on 300k a week, though, with Ineos saving as much money as they can, I don't think he's safe because he's on 300k a week. I think, in an ideal world,
I think he's the only one that warrants having that, though. To be honest, as I say, I think he's got so much credit in the bank, Bruno, from the fan base, from the club. I think he's probably the only player in the club that you could say, "Oh, you actually deserve 300k a week," because you're pulling us out the shit week in, week out. And as Adam says, if we didn't have Bruno, well, we'd be in real trouble.
Fans, all three of us are really big fans and admirers of Bruno. Then let's just assume, for the time being, for the next 3 years, Manchester United are not going to win the Premier League. They're not going to win the Champions League. It's basically going to be slowly progressing back up to the top of that table. Would you want Bruno to go to a Barcelona, to win a Ballon d'Or, to win the Champions League? Do you think, as football fans of Bruno, we deserve to allow him to have that? Finally get recognition for how good he is as a footballer.
For me, it would massively depend on Bruno. If he loves United how he says he does, I personally think he'd want to stay to try and sort of help us get back on the ladder. But if he wants to leave for trophies, then I'd have nothing against him doing that. What do you think, Adam?
Who says he can't win it at United?
Yeah, he's got a few years left.
Would you respect him though if he came out in the summer and did one of these Harry Kane style interviews with Gary Neville? I mean, Harry Kane's interview with Gary Neville were quite respectful. He made it that he really wanted to stay at, Spurs, but he wanted to win the biggest honours and he felt he needed to move away to do that. If Bruno did come out in a respectful way and say that, I feel that this is a time in my career where I want to be competing for the biggest trophies and the personal biggest trophies such as the Ballon d'Or, and I can't do that during a rebuild at Manchester United, would you respect that, if nothing else?
Of course, I think it goes back to what Beanie said. I think he's gotten enough credit in the bank from the fans that if he was very genuine, it wasn't a Rashford or a Ronaldo-esque interview, and he did come out, it was more like the Kane one. I think most United fans would say fair play. Like you say, you'd hope United would be asking for, I think, 90+ million for him as a minimum. And then you'd reinvest that solidly into players that could at least do half the job that he's done for us.
Yeah, I mean, if you believe reports, that Bayern Munich wanted him, didn't they? Either last summer or the summer before that. And that was while United are still sort of struggling. And I personally think he's got an affinity with the club now, Bruno, that he'll want to stick around while times are hard. I really do. But if he was to go, as I've said, I think he's got more than enough credit in the bank that we would all say, thanks a lot. You've been more than fucking good enough. Do your best, sort of thing. But yeah, Bruno's quality. But moving on from Bruno, give me your quick man of the matches, guys. Daz, who's your man of the match?
Watching the game, I thought it was Mazraoui. Honestly, watching the game, I thought Mazraoui was absolutely outstanding. I felt that, I just felt we were really, really good. But it's hard not to give it to Bruno that puts in a 9 out of 10 performance. I think Mazraoui put in a 9 out of 10 as well. Matthias de Ligt, nothing phased him today. Personally, I'd love to have give it to Mazraoui, but you give it to the goal scorer, don't you? If you've got 2 or 3 on the same performance.
I'm not actually sure who did get it. I didn't watch.
I'll tell you who got it because I was going to start my argument with that. Somehow Declan fucking Rice got it.
What? How?
Sky Sports gave it to Declan Rice. Why? I've no idea. But
that's nuts. Who would you give it to, Adam?
No, for once, me and Daz are in full agreement there. I think definitely between, I know, rarity, isn't it? Definitely between Mazraoui and Fernandes for me today. But I think as well, as Boxer said there, I think De Ligt and Casemiro were both in with a shout of it as well, because I think they were both solid. But yeah, Mazraoui just looked really good on that right wing back, and he's not been given that opportunity that much. So I hope that might have been a bit of a wake-up call for Amorim, because he did look sharp over there. So we'll see.
Rice celebrated that goal like it was the World Cup. He really did. And he was shushing the Stretford end as well.
Shushing after going 15 points behind Liverpool, shushing United.
Yeah. Wow. What a numpty. But a story that's been doing the rounds, obviously we'll move away from the Arsenal game now. It's a very good draw. A story that's been doing the rounds this week, Adam, I want to put it to you. If you've got to nip off in a bit, I want to put it to you before you go. Kobe Mainoo, what's your take on this? Now, if reports are to be believed, he wants about 180k a week. And obviously, as we all know, with the new sort of setup at United, they're trying to move away, aren't they, from these big contracts? And he's expected to reject the first contract offer. Now, I did a little bit of digging. Matthias de Ligt's on 195. Manuel Ugarte is on 120. Xerxes is on 105. Mazraoui is on 135. Yoro is on 115. Dorgu is on 40. All these players have been brought in since Ineos have took over, and you could maybe argue that they're all a little bit more established first teamers, while Mainoo's still trying to find a role. How does he expect to be getting 180k a week? I mean, you kind of flip it and you say he sees players like Mason Mount getting 200k. He sees people like Casemiro 350k. How do United handle this one? Or do they sell him for the reported sort of 70-80 million that they're looking for?
It's a difficult one. I mean, he had a fantastic first breakout season. I know he's had injuries this season, but when he has played, has he looked like a Casemiro? Has he looked like a Fernandes? Has he looked like an Ugarte? No. So I know he's a young player. I know his probably best years are in the next sort of 5 to 10 years. And yes, he deserves a new contract. He deserves a pay rise, don't get me wrong. But for me, if you were United, you'd be stopping at about the 150 grand mark, I think. You won't be going higher than that. And if he's being that greedy that he wants to reject that and move, he's not indispensable, I don't think. Like Fernandes, as we've talked about, and players like that. And I do think he could be very easily replaced with 70 plus million, with a really good number 8, a really good number 6, the players that we do need. So if he's choosing money over loyalty to the club that's made him and giving him the opportunities, for me, that's a red flag. and we should be
Yeah.
actually be looking at cashing in this early if he's choosing money over loyalty to the club. Because let's be honest, how are you going to spend $500,000 a month? Could any of us spend $500,000 a month? No.
I could give it a good go, but I don't know.
You just don't. You don't need them levels of money. Yes, you can say, "Well, I'm a professional. I play for Manchester United," and it's difficult for us to say that because none of us are earning $500,000 a month, so we can't comprehend that. But for me, if he's really pushing the club at this early stage in his career and he's really sort of being difficult with us when he can see the circumstances of the club, he can see people losing jobs and all the changes going on. If I were outside, I'd be turning around saying, "No, we're not standing up for this. We'll take our 70 million. Off you go. See you later."
Yeah, I mean, again, if you believe reports, I don't know this as being factual. He's apparently on 20 grand a week at the moment. And that was obviously
he deserves more than that. He definitely deserves more than that. But
I mean, he was obviously bumped up, wasn't he?
I think that's nearly a 300% increase.
Yeah, I mean, he's an arguable starter for United when everyone's fit. Does he start? I don't know. Maybe. He gets into the England teams. I think he's kind of a little bit of a bargaining chip that he's trying to use to his advantage. That he's an England regular and stuff like that. I'd be looking at about 100k, mate. I think he's on 20 now. Yeah, it leaves a bit of a dirty taste in my mouth. As Adam says, people are losing their jobs. They're stopping the meals in the canteen. We're shedding money everywhere. We're shedding employees everywhere. And then you've got Mainu and his agent coming to the table. It's like, well, we'll have 200k a week now, please. It feels wrong. It feels ill-timed. Again, I don't know if any of this is factual. I don't know if 180k is factual, but it's what the media are reporting. What would you do?
I think from a Manchester United point of view, as a fan point of view, I think we need to remove any emotion from this, because if you allow emotions to get in the way of this, you would just say pay him it. He's an academy graduate. Keep him. He's a must keep. And I believe in 100%. He's an academy graduate. He's a must keep. He's one for the future, and he could be amazing. But you've got to remove the emotion that, is he worth 180k a week? No. Is he good enough from what we've seen to be a starter at a team that should be challenging for top 4? No. Is he a good enough player that right now that could be justifying 180k a week and helping us win trophies? The answer's no. I mean, you compare him with some of the people that you've mentioned. You look at some of the positive signings that we've made, like your Dorgus, your Mazraouis, your Mateus Delits, your Lenny Euros. All of these players have come into Manchester United and improved the starting lineup. And you look at them players in particular and you say, these are future players of Manchester United. Same with Ugarte. You look at Ugarte, has he improved the team? Yes. Is he going to be a starter for Man United in 3 years' time? Yes. We can't say the same about Mainu, because I think he's very easily, very easily replaced. And I think, dare I say it, I think we could replace him for less than 25 million. I don't think he's that good. I think he could be that good, and he's done everything he should do as an academy player. He's broke through. He's had a great breakthrough season. He's been consistently incorporated with the team. He's got himself into the England lineup. And that is great. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. It's everything that Kobe Mainu should be doing. I'd like to think that the media talk is wrong and his agent is just trying it on like every other agent in the UK. And Kobe Mainu is behind the scenes saying, just get this contract done, I'll settle. I think there's got to be a compromise between both parties. If Kobe Mainu really wants to play for Manchester United and he really wants to stay, then he has got to accept the fact that this club is in a position where we are sacking employees, so we're not winning trophies, we're not in the Champions League, and everybody that's on high wages is slowly getting sent the door. Yeah. But there needs to be a compromise by Ineos to say that actually this is one of our own. He is an academy graduate. He's done everything required of him so far up until this point in his career. is he an investable player for the future? I think he's an investable player. So there's got to be a compromise. Whether that would Man United say that this contract is 100k a week and Kobe says it's 180 and they meet somewhere at 130, I'm not against that. But I think you're right. I think there's got, I mean, you look at an 100k a week, you said it yourself, what's he going to do with 100k a week? He can't go out. He's under curfew by the club. Most of his expenses, I mean, up until now, I think actually the players do still eat in the canteen, don't they? It's just the staff that don't, isn't it now?
Yeah.
But he gets fed when he's at the club. All his expenses covered when we're travelling around the country, around Europe. Where's he going to spend 100k a week? It's, you know, buy some clothes. Where's he going to wear them clothes? Because Man United never let him out. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Now, a dinner once a week. He gets to show off his new Gucci trainers. There's got to be a compromise. But for me, again, with the Bruno situation, if someone like Chelsea was to come to the table and say, we'll give you £50 million for him, I would 100% say, take him, and I'll go and get this kid from Brentford for 40, pocket 10 million, save a bit of cash. 100%, because I think 50 million quid, he's not a £50 million player.
No.
Not when you compare him to a Ugarte that was under £50 million. So if we get a good offer from him, move him on. But Man United need to know what his cards are. He needs to show his cards. Does he want to stay? Yes. Yeah, Man United have still got to pay for him to stay, but like I say, there's got to be a compromise somewhere if he wants to stay.
Yeah, I think they will compromise personally. Whether we'll ever know what the compromise is, I think they will compromise. I think he will stay. But yeah, Adam, are you good for a few minutes still?
Yeah, a few more minutes, pals, and then I'll jump off.
Cool. I just want to knock on Europa League a little bit now. What did you think of the draw in Sociedad? Was that a good draw? A little bit frustrating that it was only a draw.
I think, given what happened the weekend before, that not 3 days, 4 days prior, we'd played 120 minutes of football with the same starting 11 practically because of injuries and everything else, the lack of freshness in the squad. To go there and get a result was good. And I think, judging by what I saw for that Sociedad team, which I was expecting a lot more, if I'm honest,
yeah,
I think we'll easily beat them at Old Trafford, with hopefully a few players back from injury and a bit more freshness in the legs, having got over that 120 minutes. Again, I heard the media waffling on, as soon as the penalty went in, the Reds went down. No, it was because it was the last 20 minutes of the game and all of those players had just played 120 minutes 3 days, 4 days earlier, and then had to travel to Spain and train in between. So they were knackered. It's as simple as that. We had no one to bring on to freshen that up. So I would have snapped your hand off as a draw, a 1-1 draw at the beginning of the game. And like I say, I think we should progress through this coming Thursday myself.
Yeah, I mean, a draw away in Europe, it's never a bad result, is it? No. Unless United are getting that draw and it becomes like end of the world sort of stuff. What did you make of it, Daz? Do you think, as Adam says, we've got enough to get past Sociedad in the second leg?
I think, before I tell you that, let me give you a stat that I see earlier in the week. And again, I don't know the legitimacy of the stat, but when I think about it, it can't be far wrong. Only 20% of the time does an English team knock a Spanish team out of the Europa League.
Sounds about right.
Normally, notoriously, when English teams, we know English teams don't win the Europa League, and we always have a couple of teams in it. Notoriously speaking, we don't win it. It's been odd times where we have. United have obviously won it in the past, but in general, it normally goes to a Spanish team. Statistically speaking, it is normally Sevilla. But so going into that game, we only had, statistically speaking, 20% chance of knocking Real Sociedad out of the Europa League. Given the injuries, given the form, being away from home, I would honestly say a draw is a fair result. Drawing away in Europe isn't a bad result. It isn't. It really isn't. I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity because they was missing Zucamendi due to illness, which would have been a really big player for them because he is their best player. And unfortunately, we're going to have to try and contain him at Old Trafford. But having seen what we did today against Arsenal with what is considered a really weaker team, I really think that we could get a result at Old Trafford, and a good result, because there's some. I mean, I wouldn't be playing Eriksen again. I wouldn't be playing Casemiro again just because of legs and energy. But we'd have Dorgu back. This elements. That we could maybe put. I don't know how we would line it up without seeing all of the players who's available. I know Obi's not available because he's not registered for the tie.
Ugarte is apparently back. Ugarte and Maguire are apparently back for Thursday.
Okay, so we've got some energy in there, haven't we? We've got. I think we can do enough. But it needs to be convincing, because today we put in a semi-convincing performance, and we need to attack them. We need to, because at the end of the day, it's 1-1. That game can't be won in the dire moments of the game. Man United have got to get an early goal in the first half, then sit into the game quite well. If they can pinch a second one, fantastic. If not, they then go into half-time, bit like today, 1-0, and we come out and we get another early goal in the second half. At that point, then can you think, we can sit into the game a little bit, because there's a good cushion there. But we need to get them 2 goals. How we're going to get them, I haven't a clue, because we're not finding goals. We're not finding enough, but we're finding chances. Maybe something will turn for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should have a lot more than enough for them on Thursday. It is just that thing, of can we have just a comfortable night watching United? Can we score an early goal, and can we just control the game and it'd be nice and easy? But it won't be that. They'll probably score first, and it'll be edgy, and I'm not sure who it is in the next round if we get through. I'm not sure if it's Bucharest again, and is it Bucharest and Fenerbahce, or is that on the other side? I forget.
I think it's actually a tough draw if we get through. I think it's 2 tough teams. Yeah.
Is it Bilbao? I'm not sure now.
I will find out for us.
Here you go. While Adam's doing that, Daz, we'll give me your prediction about the Leicester game. Leicester next Sunday, obviously. Are we getting the win there? Rude isn't doing very well at Leicester.
So say that again, sorry.
I think Rude's lost 12 out of the last 13 games with Leicester, and I think he's kind of on thin ice.
I expected Leicester to go down this year. I really did. I thought there was going to be the one team that went down, and they're not. I don't think they will go down. I think if he can keep them up, he's done a good job. And then you could argue the same as Amorim at Manchester United. Let him have a few of his own players in the summer, and let's see where he can take Leicester. I think people moaning that Leicester are losing games, I genuinely don't see any manager that they could have realistically have brought in that would have changed that in any way. They're still relying on a 40-year-old striker. I mean, I do like Jamie Vardy, and I think in games like today, he might have come on with 10 minutes to go and found a goal. He would have scored that one that Højlund missed, the one that Rice took off him. Someone like Vardy would have scored that, but that's just the experience that Vardy has. But they can't rely on a player like that. He's too old. His legs are gone, and I think they're finding themselves having to rely on too many of these players. And at one point, they did have ambitious owners. It wasn't until obviously the son took over after the helicopter accident that ambition seemed to drop at Leicester. I think if the ownership group can find that ambition again, then I think they could really make someone like Ruud van Nistelrooy work really well.
Yeah, I mean, from what you kind of see in the media, they apparently guaranteed him more money in January, and they never kind of came through with that. So apparently relations there were a little bit fraught. I just think it'd be really ironic if we went to what's the Leicester ground called now? I'm not sure. If we went to Leicester and we beat Leicester well, I think it'd be really ironic if we ended up getting Ruud sacked. I think it'd be really weird. Who have we got? Adam, have you seen? Or who will we have?
Coming up now, we would get either you're right, FCSB or Lyon.
Oh, Leon, that's it. So that's a favourable draw.
Yeah, I thought it was a
think.
lot worse than that. Leon are about to be relegated, aren't they? Because they've had financial troubles. I think they're getting knocked through the French league. So I think
the better teams come later on today.
Sorry.
Do the better teams come later on? I think is it Fenerbahce and Bilbao and stuff like that.
Roma and Ajax or someone like that in the semis. Yeah. So I'd be confident in knocking both of those clubs out in the quarters.
Yeah, that's fair. Where do you stand with Leicester next weekend, Adam? Do you think we're getting a result away at Leicester?
Yeah, I think they're getting to the stage of the season now where heads are going down. They're kind of realising they're not staying up. And I think a lot of them are already kind of booking their holidays for the summer, aren't they? You can just tell or speaking to their agents about where they're going to go, you know. Yeah. So I do think we'll get a result there. Like we used to with United. It probably won't be comfortable. They'll probably score first and win 2-1 or something like that. But I think we're getting a result. And then thank God it's the bloody international break and we actually get 2 weeks off to get everyone hopefully back training and get a bit of rest in the legs before the final push for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a good run-in, wouldn't it? Sorry, Daz.
Talking of obviously beating Leicester, if I would have said to you at the point when Erik ten Hag got sacked, which was just before the Man City form dropped, if I was to say to you at that point that we would go into the final 2 months of the season being 10 points behind Man City, would you have took it? Because that's where the position we could be in if we beat Leicester. We could be within 10 points of Man City. And 10 points, obviously 10 points with, take in mind they're in our Champions League spot, 10 points with 2 months to go. We've seen bigger gaps close in the final 2 months of the Premier League. We really have. Final 2 months of the Premier League. You know, I can't see us closing that gap, but, you know, if we could still maintain a couple of good results along the way and stay within 10 points of Man City between now and the end of the season, I don't think that on paper that is that bad, given the fact that we've both had bad seasons and obviously they've been massively backed in the January window and we wasn't. But then could we honestly, if we beat Leicester, have a really good international break where Amorim focuses on the fundamentals of, you know, his system, just tweaking it, and maybe some striker training, and maybe playing, you know, playing with where he can play Xerxes a bit deeper. Maybe Garnacho can play up top. You know, he's got opportunities and time over that 2 week period to, you know, try new things in training and see if they can be implemented. If he can find goals come at the end of the international break, if we find goals, we'll find results. 100%. We can be a crap team and get results if we can find goals. Could you genuinely see us creeping up the table slowly and being closer to the top 4 or 5? Because like I said, going into the international break with 10 points off, automatic qualification for the Champions League, that's not a bad position to be in with, you know, 2 months left to go, which would be about 7-8 games.
I think we just need goals. I mean, if you look at the table, I think from 5th till maybe 10th, I think there's about 4 points. But if as you say, if we can find goals, maybe being out of the FA Cup may be a little bit of a blessing, that we have a little bit more time for injured players to come back and stuff like that. It's just about goals, I think. If we continue to struggle to score goals, I don't think we're going to climb a huge amount. But from the Fulham game to the Sociedad game to the game today, I think there's positives there. I think each performance, I think Fulham, we should have beat Fulham. I should have never have gone to penalties. We had enough in that game to win that game, but we're just not clinical enough. And I think the same was with Sociedad as well. That should never have been a draw. We're missing that clinical edge. Like today, we had the Højlund chance with Rice. As we said, he was a little bit lacking confidence. We had the Xerxes chance where he's tried to sort of flick it under Raya. We had the Mazraoui chance, just a very good Raya save. We had the Bruno chance on like 93 minutes or whatever that was. If we just had that clinical edge, I actually think we'd be an okay team. And then if you put goals into this team now, and then you put signings in the summer into this team, I don't think we're a million miles off. I think we're fucking miles off challenging for the title, but I don't think we're a million miles off the teams that are challenging for sort of 5th, 4th, 6th, that sort of area. I just think we're missing goals and it's killing us. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, 100%. We just need a period of stability where we win 4 or 5 games on the bounce, because I think if we did that, the confidence to get breathed into the team again. Because I mean, Amaran mentioned it in an interview this week that he said the players have got deep scars. He said they're good players, but they're all scarred by what's been happening. And it is what he's referring to is the confidence of the players. We go and win 4 or 5 games. We find ourselves in the semi-final of the Europa League. Who knows what could happen? You know, would we take finishing 7th and getting Conference League right now where we are? Yeah, damn right we would. You know, 100%. I'd take that all day long. So yeah, weirder things have happened. We'll just have to see.
Just wait and see. But like I say, I think the positives are there. I think you can see a little glimmer of hope. Well, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. But yeah, we'll take it. Hopefully, there's a week ahead of us getting through the Europa League, like you boys think. A win against Leicester, and then we're back here next Sunday, and we're chasing down the top 10. That's what we want. We're chasing it down. But Adam, tell everyone where we can find you, bud.
You can find me mostly on TikTok, hovering around, usually arguing with both yourself and Daz throughout the day about various things. Hadfield Reacts is my handle. But yeah, give us a follow. But pleasure as always, boys. I'll try and get on a few more times for you next few months.
Lovely. Always nice to have you on, buddy. Daz, where can we find you? Other than here?
TikTok as well. On here, but TikTok as well. I've mainly been doing lives at the minute. I seem to get more people jump on. People want to come on and argue, which suits me loads better. But yeah.
No, it's good if you are on TikTok. Make sure you give these boys give them a follow, because they do normally argue with each other, and it's normally quite good to just sit back and watch, to be fair. But I'll be back next Sunday with Daz, and I'm not sure who else, but I'll definitely be with Daz at least. Hopefully, as I say, a Europa League progression, 3 points against Leicester, a positive result for United today, and we'll take that into the week, guys. Up the Red Devils and out with the Glazers, as they said today at the protest. Up with the Red Devils. Take it easy, guys.
Keep the faith, lads.
Keep the faith.